Well, everyone, welcome back to another installment of, I don't know, Boss Witches talking about stuff. I guess I should have figured out a title before this intro, but and Boss Witches. So, in our first video, what am I doing? Yeah, so this is what happens when you try and record videos after, putting together a store that flooded and organized a festival. But anyway, in our first video, you learned a little bit about, my background as a witch and making my journey to Salem and Emily's journey, and how, Fiber Witch Festival became more than just an idea and started becoming a real thing. And so, yeah, we're here now to talk to you a bit about how we came to plan that very first festival. And so, I put down a deposit on Old Town Hall and said, well, what's this thing going to look like? And what does it mean to, bring together witchcraft and fiber arts? But also, Emily and I both have, extensive vending experience. And we wanted to make sure that we were creating a show that would make us happy to participate in as vendors. And I guess this is also the part where we have to mention that this was right on the heels of
Yeah, that's worth mentioning.
this was right on the heels of the now defunct Wool and Folk Festival. I
Definitely not
vended.
conceived of as a replacement for wool and folk at all.
No, God, no, not at all. But just more learning from the trauma, I guess.
Let's not do that.
No, no, it was definitely not even related to that at all. We had already put down the deposit, but then I went to vend at Wool and Folk. So did Row from Home, Row had Craft. So did Dragon Horde Yard, who was there.
Yeah,
Um,
and I had vended at Wool and Folk the previous year and was kind of like, I don't want to say saw the writing on the wall because that's not right. I would have
yeah.
like told people not to do it if I had known what it was going to be. But I saw some red flags. I was like, I'm gonna give it a year.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
wasn't
And and I
there.
applied because people that I had known had vended had had good experiences, etc. But this was a year where there had been a change in leadership. One of the original creators left and just one stayed behind. Turned out that the organizational side was not her strength. Right. And so this was a show that had a lot of issues. I'm not going to get into them. You can
There's
find them
plenty of
on,
YouTube videos
yeah,
about that.
YouTube videos, Craft Snark, it's all on there. But this was a show where people, were very disappointed as vendors. And so Emily and I went into this like, oh my God, we are first, like, we're creating a show from scratch. And we just want to make sure that we don't do that. Right. If there was an immense amount of pressure.
Yeah, that was definitely a big motivator of like, we don't want it to be a disaster. We want it to actively be good.
Right.
It was a good manual of what not to do.
Right. And so, but, and we also came at it from a different perspective because, most of the people that are organizing shows are just organizing shows. And you and I both vended our own show. Right.
Mhm.
And so this was very much how do we create a show that we love, that is the people that we would want to see. Right. And so that's part of the reason that we are so in love with everything that we see there is because we've literally created our dream event. Right.
Mhm.
Like it's the vibe that we want, it's the vendors that we want. And so, you and I go around and shop from everyone as well because we're like, great, they're all here. We can buy from them.
Yay.
um, and so we were very careful about like, okay, what do I need to know as an organizer? What are things that I haven't considered, as being primarily a vendor, and then also as a vendor, what are things that I haven't seen from organizers? But also, Emily, when you came on, you said I want to be involved in this, and I said to you, all right, well, what do you want to bring to this? Like, what does that look like? Because Emily hadn't and I hadn't worked together in that capacity, and you had worked on the organizing committee for what event was it previously?
The Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival, I was on their board of directors as the education chair for, I don't, 4 years? I don't even remember now. So as the education chair, I did like run all the class submissions, pick all the teachers, make the schedule, and then served on the board and did all of the general meetings as well. So I had a bit of an experience of this is how a festival gets put on and it is run and like had a working knowledge of like these are the things to do.
Yeah, and for me, I hadn't run a market before. I had run my retreat, and my retreat had a small market component. But I'm good with logistics for me. Like, if I can just be like, okay, this is my end goal, this is where I am, I can figure out what the steps to get in there before are. And so Emily and I had that meeting, and she was like, I've been on this board, and she's like, I'd like to be your marketing person. And I said, great, that sounds wonderful. And Emily and I were delighted to find, or at least I was very delighted to find, I hope you feel the same way, that we work really, really well together. Emily, for me, is a very safe person for me to express whatever ideas I have that I feel might be crazy. And she's like, no, that's a great idea. And then we put it out there and people genuinely like it. So, she's helping me combat my imposter syndrome and all my ideas are bad syndrome, because, it took me 10 years to really get this idea of a witchy fiber festival out of my head into reality. Like, I definitely questioned myself at every step of the way. And so I have to say Emily has been a wonderful partner that way. And so when I said to her, hey, do you want to wear matching dresses? And I was all like, she's gonna think I'm the biggest dork and gonna say no. And she said yes. And
it's so fun.
It really is.
It's the best.
And so for our first year, we went, Emily came into town a few days early. We went down to Modern Millie, who was one of our sponsors for 2025. But in 2024, we just walked over there and tried on a bunch of dresses. And we were like, hey, this is super cute and fun. And we ended up buying a matching skirt and a matching dress. And I think this is a great opportunity to cut in a photo of us in our star dresses outside Old Town Hall.
We're very cute.
We're very cute. So that was super, super fun. And so for me, I have to say, on a personal level, it's been very fun to work with someone who, sees my ideas and can meet me there and also is excited about them. Emily has been an absolute powerhouse when it comes to managing our marketing. I, as much as Fiber Witch Festival is, my heart and my brain baby, it would not be what it is today without Emily. So I'm really glad for that partnership. And so we spent months planning this, and then we started reaching out to emailing vendors being like, hey, we have this first year show, you don't know who we are or if we can produce anything, but will you take a risk and come be in our show? And so, Jessica, whose bag you bought at my store, she's been a vendor for the last couple of years, and she's someone who, I've developed a relationship over the last 10 years as well. I've known her, for 10 years. She makes custom bags for us, etc. And so she was someone that I could reach out to as a friend and be like, hey, I have this idea. Will you come? What do you think? And she's like, for you, okay. Right. And Ro from Home Row, obviously, she was involved in a lot of our early planning discussions. She ended up doing the artwork which was our first year artwork, and also just our logo in general, which is the Salem Witch House, reinterpreted in Baba Yaga style. And so, she was just a really good friend too. We were like, hey, will you come take a risk on this? Right. And then we started getting applications from Dragon Horde, from Utah, and from people all over the place. And we were like,
cool.
Weird. What is going on? Right. And, we didn't charge for admission the first year because we were like, well, we just want as many people to show up as possible. We want to make this low barrier of entry. That also meant for us that as
one less logistic of having to figure out ticketing.
Right. But we also, because we didn't know if anyone would show up, the budget was extremely bare bones, right? Like I paid, you rent Old Town Hall, you get your 8-hour stretch, and 80 hours on top of that, you're paying extra for. So, it was a 1-day market. We didn't get set up the day before. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. And we knew that we wouldn't have the budget of having, ticket sales to help. So it was all very bare bones, all a lot of work. I don't know if I should tell the story about the tree. There was some drama with a tree, maybe we'll tell that another time.
Or surprise.
But was it a couple weeks beforehand, 3 weeks beforehand? I was like, hey, Emily, what if we put up free tickets on the website just so we get a sense of how many people are coming, right? And so we just put it up and we're just like, hey, get a free ticket, not because you need it, but we're just trying to gauge interest. And then the tickets just started. Yeah. And I think we were like over 500. And then at that point we turned it off. And then we were just like, hey guys, just be mindful that there might be a wait. We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to think about line management.
Right. I mean, it literally, I was hoping that maybe 200 to 300 people would show up. Literally. And then, cue morning of, it's raining, everyone's running around. Right. And, we get
booths, we're setting up our booths, and as we were setting up the kitty with the cupcake booth because I was on the first floor, you were on the second floor the first year. Um, the I could see the through the doors and I saw that there were a ton of people outside. And I was like, oh. And abandoned Lauren and Clara to continue setting up the booth and was like, okay, we gotta like stand in a some semblance of a line out here.
Right. Yeah. And so we were just absolutely astounded and shocked, right? We ended up with a line that was going up the plaza and then down Essex Street, down the pedestrian mall for most of the day to the point where the businesses along the pedestrian mall asked us to move the line because they were blocking their doors.
Yep.
And then random locals started coming up to the door of Old Town Hall being like, what are you guys doing in here? Because it attracted so many people. And then we ended up with a tally of over 1,500 entries into Old Town Hall on that one first day. And so, it was completely by accident that we created,
And it
I guess,
was my best single sales day ever, personal sales record. Um
it
for
was for me as well. But now this year has topped it for me, which is wonderful.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
that first year, I think we really, because we hadn't done it before, and like now we know this, that we've talked to some people who run events and are like, it always feels like that the first time that you like you truly don't know if it's gonna happen. Like it feels like crazy. You like just don't know if it's gonna work out. And we felt like that the whole time, but we didn't like, I think neither of us had been like, oh, that's what you always feel like.
right.
We're both like, and then it happened
Yeah,
and it was wonderful and lovely. And everyone, we were getting such great feedback from the vendors, from attendees. And it was like, oh, we did it. We did the thing.
we did do the thing, right? And then it was like, well, I guess we get to do it again, right? Like, yay. And so, since the first year went so well, we're like, maybe 2 days will be good. And so then we started the
Mhm.
planning for 2024, which was also a whole ordeal because Old Town Hall is managed by the city of Salem and they were going through changing policies, et cetera. And they told us it would take us 6 weeks to get the date confirmed for 2024. It took like 5 months. It was bad. And so, people kept being like, why aren't you guys announcing the dates? Why isn't it just guaranteed, et cetera? And so this is what people don't realize, like this venue here, like there is no guarantee. Even for 2026, we've already had to change the date once. We haven't even announced it yet. And this is why, because
Mhm.
we, reserved a date, we confirmed it, and then they were like, just kidding. Right. So
Mhm.
it's tough. Like we're doing our best. Um, and a lot of people, and now we were sort of at a point where we kind of feel like we need to educate people a bit about what we're doing and where we are, right? Like Salem is a historic town. It's 5 square miles. There's 40,000 inhabitants. Old Town Hall is the biggest venue we have, and it is the only accessible venue. And so when people go, hey, are you guys going to go bigger? I'm like, there is nowhere to go. Like there's 5 square miles here. There isn't the space, it is a historic building. It is currently being renovated, right? But is it perfect? No. Obviously, we've had issues with the lighting now for 2 years. The lighting hasn't worked. I've already yelled at them a bunch, right? Hopefully it'll be fixed by next year. But it has an elevator. And that is a
It
rarity in
was
a
when we
historic town.
Yeah, when it was we were waiting the 5 months for Hotel Hell to confirm for 2025, we looked into all of the other possible venue locations in town, and there's not one with an elevator.
Right. There's not one with an elevator, but also there isn't one of the size. And so,
Mhm.
it was never our goal to be like, oh, now this is going to be a massive thing with 100 vendors, right? It's never going to be that. It is Salem. Salem is quaint, it's historic, it's small, right? And so it's always going to have around, 30 to 35 vendors. But, the amazing thing is you get to be in Salem, right? Moving away from a retreat in New Hampshire that's all inclusive. Now you get to stay in the city of Salem, enjoy everything that Salem has to offer because there's a lot of stuff here, right? Our first year, we ran some knitting workshops. They went fine, but what we really realized is that people really are like leaning into the witchiness with us, which is amazing. And so this year we offered an elemental magic class, we offered a tarot workshop, we offered a pink moon ritual, and they were all very well attended.
Mhm.
This was the first year that we did a coronation ball. Or a ball at all. And, we definitely learned some things
Yeah.
there.
I mean,
Right.
again,
But
that was the first time we've ever done anything like that. So, of course, there was a learning curve, but
Yeah, I've literally never even hosted a party that big ever. Like when I got married back in the day, my wedding had 20 people. Right. And so I think that people don't realize that like we're just like two regular, witchy knitters who love this stuff and we're learning as we go. Right. But this has never been, like a business strategic thing. It's just been like we love this and we want to connect with other people who love it too.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean it's all about the community for
mhm.
for both events, for the ball and for the market. It's just,
For
that's
all of it. Yeah.
my favorite part of the event is just seeing how happy people are to be in a room with a bunch of other people that they have two things in common with. They do fiber arts and they're interested in witchy stuff, be it witchcraft or just witch aesthetics. That's cool. That doesn't happen in a ton of other places.
Right. Yeah. And so, 2024 was super fun. And as we were planning for 2025, I did my whole like, I have an idea that I'm having anxiety about that's probably really dorky, but we'll see what Emily thinks. And so I said, Emily, what if we have a theme? I have this idea of the Coronation of Persephone. Is this really dorky? Should we do it?
I love themes. I love a theme. Yeah, we had a kind of like a brain dump meeting in my Airbnb the day after the festival in 2024 where we like took notes on what like while it was all fresh in our brain, like what we liked, what we didn't like, what we could improve, new ideas. And I think a ton of the new stuff that we did for 25 came out of that. The
Mm-hmm.
theme, the ball, it being multiple days, like all of that was from just like being like, I think this is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
The trolley tour also probably, I think.
No, that actually just came later from I don't know what, but we had the walking tour and it went well. And I think I saw Charlie go by and then I was like,
Trolleys.
and I was like, maybe because that was me sort of realizing like, well, people, because we did the private witch house tour. I partnered with the director of the witch house, and we do donate like a portion of all our tickets from the witch house to charity. That's part of our organization of our arrangement with them because they actually shut down the witch house so that just our knitters can go in there. So I'm very lucky that as we're doing this, I'm 10 years into my business. I have a lot of local connections, which really helps.
It's very
Um,
important.
right, but it made us realize that people really are enjoying the tourist component of Salem, right? So like the walking tour went well, the witch house tour went well. So I was like, okay, what's another cute Salem thing? And so like the trolley was a later add-on and we added one day and it sold quickly. So I was like, should I add a Sunday? And then that sold out too. And then we are like, should we do more? I'm like, no, it's getting too complicated for my right. And so all of it is very, very organic, right? And so it's very interesting because we had a woman at the event who said to me and Rose like, this event is branded into an inch of its life and it's brilliant. And it kind of took me by surprise because it made me realize that like, like this idea of the theme, I know that I came up with it and I pitched it to you and we were both very excited. And so everything that's come out of that has just been like genuine, sincere excitement. And
Yeah,
it very interesting to me that it comes across as like, oh, look at how well they've branded it. And I'm like, well, I guess so because we curated a coherent theme. But again, it didn't come out of a desire to be
to
like,
brand.
to
Mhm.
be, marketing geniuses. It was just like, no, we were excited. And so to me, it's been a really big learning experience of like, if we're passionate and it's coming from the heart, right? Like it's gonna shine.
Yeah. I think that that is a big secret to marketing for me personally. I have never worked in corporate marketing. I am not good at marketing something that I am not interested in. I am only good at
Mm.
marketing something if I am in.
Synergy, buzzwords.
No. No, I can only tell other people how excited I am about a thing and why they should be excited about it too. That's all
Right.
I
Yeah.
do.
And so like literally every piece of this, like no piece of this comes out of a desire of like, this would be a good business strategy, right? It's just like we're just like dorky, excited witches.
Well, and like we're vendors too, right? So when you had the theme idea, I was like, I think if I didn't run this show and a show that I was excited to participate in had a theme, that's so fun. It's fun to get to play with that. And it's not mandatory, so it's not a chore. It's just like, if you want to do this, this is a thing that we offer, join in.
Right. And so I ended up creating two custom colorways and I actually designed a cowl that I didn't get to release beforehand, but that is now being released afterwards in celebration. And it's this like
Yeah,
pomegranate moon motif.
I like
And my
it.
colors are fruit of the underworld and crossing the threshold.
They look good together.
Right. And so Emily and I had a meeting where we were like, all right, what's going to be our sort of design inspiration? And then we like just, we had a Pinterest board and we just did like a bunch of pinning of like, okay, here's the ideas. And then we went and we cut them down to be like, okay, here's the actual mood board. And then
Mhm.
we emailed the vendors all sheepish, like, hey, so
Right.
here's this idea. We have a mood board. Do you guys want to make some stuff for it? And
And they were jazzed.
they were jazzed. They were jazzed. Why don't we cut in the mood board so people can see it?
Yeah.
So that's our mood board, right? And then everyone came up with such amazing things. Obviously, I came up with some themed colorways. A bunch of the yarn dyers did too. And even though there was a commonality, they were all like beautiful and distinct. And Home Row created a really
Uh,
beautiful fabric collection. Actually, I have some of them here. Should I grab some?
actually, I have one right by my, I don't think you even need to get up. Hey, look.
Amazing. Yeah, so she created this beautiful pomegranate, like filigree motif, and then made these beautiful hearth baskets and like dual purpose, like project bags and pillows. Yeah, so one thing about her collection that was really amazing is that, she took the idea of duality and Persephone living in two worlds, and she made every item in her collection have two purposes. It's just people did some really fantastic things. Jess Lou obviously had an exclusive bag. Weston 28, created a beautiful pomegranate charm. So there was just so many beautiful things. And I guess we can put a link in below to the reel that shows everyone's
Mhm.
exclusive items.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was just really exciting to see the vendors also, like really lean into this idea. And then, for the coronation ball, we said, hey, there's no dress code. Like wear whatever you want. We expected to have a bunch of people in like jeans knitting. And then people started posting online, like, oh, I'm hand
I
sewing
made
a
a ball
costume.
gown.
And then that's when Emily and I went, Emily, we need to buy some
You need to
dresses
get a
because
dress.
and so we didn't create it with the intent of like this is going to be a thing where people are going to show up decked out. Like people did that on their own, and so it's just so exciting to see people react with so much passion to these things that we're excited about.
Yeah, we made a safe space where you can have fun with that type of thing, and people just run with it. It's great.
It's amazing.
Mm. It was so fun seeing everyone's different outfits. That was probably my favorite part of the ball.
Yeah, getting to walk through the marketplace and see everyone's themed things, and then going to the ball and seeing everyone's costumes has really just been amazing. And I have to say the red velvet curtains at Old Town Hall just really fit the bill. We didn't hang
Yeah,
those, by the way. They come with the venue. They're just there,
to
but it
change them for
worked.
next year.
I know, I was like, it worked really well.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a really amazing adventure. And it's just us. We're just some dorky witches like doing stuff that we're excited about, and we love that other people are too. We're going to announce 2026 dates real soon. We're already working on the theme behind the scenes. You don't get to know it yet.
We'll announce the theme after we announce the date. You gotta like put it in your calendar before we tell you the theme.
Yeah, that's fair. And I've already been
We
running
have to, we
around.
know the theme, but we have to make a whole mood board before we show it to you. So like that'll be a hot minute.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We know the thing. Yeah, but we need to really, refine it and like, protect it before we share it to the world. And, and I'm gonna go have my anxiety about how no one's gonna like it. And
People will like
I'm
it.
sure they will, but I gotta go struggle with my insecurities first, part of the
Oh, we didn't
process.
talk about making the artwork for this year.
Oh God, yeah. The artwork. You know what? Let me go grab one of the art prints.
Yeah, I
They're
don't
right
have anything
here.
by me.
I do.
Hmm.
Here's a print.
Oh, the print turned out so good.
So Emily and I drew this artwork together in 24 hours.
Well, I was on a boat.
Emily was on a boat. Yeah. So this is hand drawn digitally. We both worked with our iPads and Procreate. This is not a sponsored post. That's just what we use.
It's the best app. Everyone knows.
Yeah. And so literally we were like texting each other back and forth layers as we were working on them. And it was literally a 24-hour turnaround period.
Yeah, and
Right.
it
And
was like, okay, I'm
so
gonna do something in this space, leave that blank. Like,
yeah. And so this came up, like obvious. So we started with some really like practical limitations, like, hey, this is the t-shirt printer that we use. This is the constraints of the size of the artwork. We know it can be up to 12 inches. We knew that our theme was going to be Persephone. As we started looking through artwork together, we both agreed that we really liked an Art Nouveau aesthetic, and we looked a lot at, Alphonse Mucha for inspiration.
Mhm.
And I was looking at some of his, um, filigree work. And so I created this like outer frame with like, the inner frame sort of layout. And I
Mhm.
sent it to Emily, and Emily started working on it. And she created this like swoopy lily of the valley situation here,
Mhm.
right? I created this like moon face sort of like window panel situation going up here, which has hidden in it little pomegranates, little kitty cats. We got the snake for the year of the snake. And my brain is failing me right now, but this flower that's here in the middle, I actually went in and I did research on what are the flowers that happen in spring in Greece so that I could incorporate them um, into the print. Yeah, so that is a flower that actually blooms in Greece in the spring. Do I remember what it's called right now? No.
That's
Um, and I created this like portal frame here, and the idea here was for it to be spring on the outside, and she is literally crossing the threshold into the underworld. And so here we have flowers that are related to that. So these are poppies, and then as you're crossing here, this is white birch, which is one of the plants that's supposed to be in the underworld per the mythology, right? And then I had the wheat shaft here for Demeter, her mother. And these are different like plant stages of the pomegranate. So obviously we got the plant here, but then we've got the leaves, and that's what little baby pomegranate flowers look like as they're starting to grow into the palm.
Yep. And then I worked on Persephone. I wanted her to have a big, spiky, badass underworld crown. And this is for sure based off of a Muka pose because I want
Mm-hmm.
it to be really reminiscent of Muka. And in the original pose, she's holding flowers, but I was like, yarn. So she has a little yarn bouquet
Mm-hmm.
with some different kind of flowers going on in there. And those are some that are associated with Persephone too. There's some irises in there, some primrose stuff going on. And then she has knitting needles and a crochet hook in her hand because
Mm-hmm.
she does both, of course,
Obviously.
like we do. And she needed a shawl because, of course, she needed a shawl. She's representing the Fiber Witch Festival.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I created this
I
moon
love
behind
that.
her with this sort of like, stained glass feel,
It's very
right?
like religious icon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we were just working on these different pieces and sending them back and forth and layering them. And then, obviously it says Fiber Witch Festival, Salem, Massachusetts, the year. Here's our initials for the artwork in there. Yeah, so we do still have a few of the holographic art prints left and the sweatshirts, but they are starting to sell out.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then, imagine what we're going to create if we have more than 24 hours to work on the artwork.
You don't think we'll be off for 20 until we only have 24 hours again?
Maybe 48 this time. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I have to say, I'm really
double
proud
it.
of us.
Yeah,
Like
I am
24
too.
hours, like that's pretty good, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, maybe we'll go ahead and put that back over here. Yeah, I think another thing that you and I have been discussing as far as sort of sharing our messaging is for having people really understand like what it is that we do, right? So we're trying to feel like, okay, like what are our actual titles? Like, yeah, I'm the founder, we're the organizers, but we really do a lot more than that. Like we are the creative directors, right? Like we do plan every inch of this, right? We're not just logistics. Like we come up with the theme and we come up with like, the branding, the artwork, everything is very, very planned to a T, but not from a, marketing perspective, but just from a like, we love this and we want to
I
be
mean,
doing every piece of it.
we both think of it as it's a market, right? But it's also an event and a production in some way. Like it's not just a craft market or a farmer's market. It is something different. So I think the creative director part is like we are shaping like the vibe and feeling of it is very much a part of it and it's on purpose.
Right. Yeah. right? Like the theme idea really helped shape that. And now we have sort of a template for every year. And that's what we're going to be working on is like, what is the vibe? What are the details? What are the decorations? What is the artwork? And really growing that vibe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, we just wanted to take a moment to kind of share with you guys a little bit about, the background, what's going on, how it came to be. Um, and we'd love to hear from you. Have you come? Did you come to both years? What did you think? What do you love? And are you coming next year? I don't know, Emily, what do you want to ask folks?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear what your favorite part of the festival is. Why have you enjoyed coming? If you haven't been, why do you want to come? What interests you about it? And I would also like to say thank you to everyone who has come and participated, to everyone who has participated with our social media online. You are why we get to do this really cool thing. So thank you so
That's
much for
true.
being part of it.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And again, I do own a yarn shop, the yarn shop in Salem, Circle of Stitches, right? That's our big secret. Circle of Stitches is, Circle of Witches. And the whole point is to create community and bring people together in, sacred creative space. So come visit me in Salem, find us online, circleofstitches.com, and on Instagram at Circle Stitches. We have our yarn dyeing studio at Mills 58 in Peabody, Toil and Trouble Yarns. And obviously follow us at Fiber Witch Festival. All
Hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Bye,
Hmm.
witches.